Hospitals are supposed to be temples of healing, but they're also museums of bad ideas wrapped in gauze. 1. The light bulb incident. Every ER doctor has one story that makes them rethink humanity. For one poor surgeon in Michigan, it was the guy who arrived complaining of internal discomfort. X-ray revealed something bright, literally. The man had inserted a full-sized light bulb where, let's say, the sun doesn't shine. His explanation? Curiosity. The medical team had to remove it without breaking it, because shattered glass in there would make even the devil wince. It took 3 hours, a custom-built device, and a small prayer circle. When it was finally out, the surgeon reportedly held it up and said, "And that's how you turn off a patient." 2. The DIY Surgery Masterclass. In 2014, a man in England decided that surgeons overcharge, so he attempted to perform his own minor operation, removing a cyst with vodka, pliers, and an online tutorial. The result? A wound that looked like a crime scene, and a trip to the ER where the actual doctors had to fix his cost-effective mistake. When asked why he did it, he said, "Well, I watched 3 YouTube videos. Somewhere, a surgeon screamed into a pillow. It's proof that medical school might still be slightly more useful than Wi-Fi and courage." 3. The X-ray that needed an exorcist. One ER nurse in Arizona still talks about the Buzz Lightyear case. The X-ray came in, and there he was, smiling heroically from inside a man's lower intestine. The patient's story? He must have fallen in there. Sure, buddy. Gravity's a powerful thing, but not that powerful. Removing the toy took hours, and when it was finally over, the doctor muttered, "To infinity and beyond, indeed." The hospital staff agreed on one thing. Some stories should never make it to the discharge papers, but this one deserved its own Pixar sequel. 4. The frozen peas tragedy. Emergency rooms see all kinds of injuries, but few come with such humble beginnings as a bag of frozen peas. A woman showed up with third-degree frostbite in a place peas were never meant to go. Her explanation was that the bag had slipped while she was cooling down. The staff nodded politely, which is hospital code for "we've heard worse," but barely. The medical report didn't mention the details, only the heroic effort to preserve tissue integrity. Somewhere in the frozen foods aisle, a bag of peas still trembles in fear, knowing it once participated in the world's coldest bad decision. 5. The phone charger surgery. Picture this. A patient rushes in, clutching his stomach and a phone cable like he's auditioning for a tech commercial from hell. Turns out he'd tried to charge his energy by inserting a USB cable into himself. No, not metaphorically. He had read online that bioelectric energy could improve health. The doctor's reaction could have powered an entire hospital wing. Removing it required delicate work and industrial levels of disbelief. The final note on the chart? Device incompatible with human port. 6. The mystery beep. At 2 a.m., a nurse hears faint beeping coming from a patient's stomach. For a second, she thinks she's hallucinating from caffeine overdose. Turns out, the man had swallowed a small digital thermometer because he thought it would measure his core temperature more accurately. It did. The problem was, it didn't stop beeping. The ER team spent the next 2 hours locating the world's most annoying metronome. When they finally retrieved it, the doctor deadpanned. "You're officially running a fever of stupidity." 7. The Great Hamster Rescue. This story has achieved near-mythical status in hospital legend, mostly because no one wants to believe it's real. A man came in with abdominal pain and an X-ray that made the staff scream-laugh. The culprit, a hamster. His excuse was as thin as his dignity. It was a science experiment. The vet tech called to assist said, "Buddy, even the hamster looks disappointed." Both survived the ordeal, but one left the hospital deeply traumatized and forever distrustful of exercise wheels. 8. The Lego incident. A grown man, mid-30s, shows up at the ER claiming he's been shot. The X-ray says otherwise, a perfectly intact Lego brick lodged in his nasal cavity. Turns out he'd been playing with his kid and decided to show how far it can go up. It went further than his ambitions. The surgeon extracted it with tweezers and asked if he wanted to keep it. The man nodded solemnly and said, "Yeah, it's part of me now." "Congratulations, sir. You've just become the first fully modular human being." 9. The MRI magnet. That stole Christmas hospitals warn you 1,000 times. No metal near the MRI. A patient nodded, promised, and then stepped into the room wearing a belt buckle the size of a dinner plate. The magnet did what magnets do. It yanked the buckle, his keys, and somehow, a rogue folding chair across the room like Santa's sleigh just found turbo mode. The tech hit the emergency stop while a janitor watched his mop launch into the air like it had dreams of NASA. Nobody was hurt, but the radiology team spent the rest of the night retrieving ferromagnetic souvenirs from places furniture should never be. The patient said, "I didn't think it was that magnetic." "Sir, this machine can see inside atoms. It's not kinda magnetic. It's Thor's hammer with a science degree." 10. The superglue suture. A weekend warrior sliced his finger doing light carpentry, which in his case meant juggling sheet metal. He decided hospitals are for quitters and sealed the cut with superglue. At first, he was proud. Then his finger started looking like a tomato auditioning for a role as a balloon animal. By the time he arrived in the ER, the glue had bonded to skin, gauze, and tragically, the label of the glue bottle he was still clutching. The doctor asked why he didn't come in sooner. He said he was waiting for the glue to become medical grade. That's not how chemistry works. They soaked, debrided, resutured properly, and sent him home with antibiotics and a firm warning. Home Depot carries many fine products. Sterile sutures are not among them. 11. The Fitbit false alarm. A man rushed into urgent care convinced he was dying. Chest tightness, dizziness, the works. His heart rate tracker was flashing a terrifying number. The staff whisked him into a room, hooked him up, and perfectly normal vitals. Then a nurse noticed his smartwatch rhythm, 180 BPM, steady, suspiciously musical? Turns out he'd been chasing his toddler around the house while wearing the watch on his ankle, so it counts steps better. The watch had been tracking the kid's pulse, not his. He left sheepish, with a handout on anxiety and a note on his discharge summary that read, "Cardiac rhythm unremarkable. Fatherhood rhythm elevated." The ER regretted nothing, except the 5 minutes everyone spent trying to interpret Paw Patrol as ventricular tachycardia. 12. The slippery lotion incident. A well-meaning relative visited a post-op patient and massaged their legs with extra moisturizing lotion she found in the gift shop. The brand should have been called Teflon Butter. Within minutes, the floor was a skating rink. A nurse stepped in, slid past the bed like she was entering the Winter Olympics, and caught herself on the IV pole, which now thought it was a maypole. Environmental services arrived with industrial grit. The room smelled like coconut regret, and the charge nurse created a new rule on the spot. No spa days on tile. The patient recovered fine. The nurse earned a standing ovation. After everyone stopped involuntarily figure skating. 13. The mystery of the vanishing thermometer. Inventory said 5 oral thermometers. The drawer had 4. Cue a 30-minute scavenger hunt, which ended when a patient coughed politely and produced the missing unit from a pocket of their robe. "I didn't want it to roll away," they said, as if thermometers are known escape artists. Replacements arrived, labeled, logged, and leashed to the counter like pens at a bank. The hospital learned a lesson. Tiny tools grow legs when patients are bored, anxious, or convinced they're doing housekeeping a favor. Also, nothing tanks morale like the phrase, "Who saw the thermometer last?" It's never followed by good news. 14. The gender reveal gone wrong, hospital edition. Someone thought it'd be cute to bring a confetti popper to the maternity ward, a small one, just for Instagram. Pop. Blue paper shrapnel everywhere. The HVAC system inhaled it like cotton candy and redistributed it with the enthusiasm of a leaf blower at a ticker tape parade. Respiratory therapy now had festive vents. The nursery looked like it had. Joined a college pep rally, and housekeeping posted a sign, "Glitter is forever, please don't." The baby was healthy and adorable. The confetti lingered like a bad habit. Months later, an attending found a lone blue rectangle inside a stethoscope and said, "He'll be 5 before we stop finding these." 15. The night the cafeteria chili. Fought back, one hospital's cafeteria chili had the personality of a fire alarm. At 1 a.m., 3 residents inhaled it between consults. By 2 a.m., the on-call bathroom became a timeshare. Paging escalated from urgent to emergency, but with jalapenos. GI was consulted on a situation caused by GI. The overnight charge nurse posted a whiteboard warning, "Chili, McCudesh, consult yourself." The residents emerged, humbled and hydrated, and swore eternal fealty to saltines. The hospital didn't regret serving chili. It regretted serving it with a ladle the size of a tuba. 16. The haircut heard. Round the ward. A patient awaiting discharge decided to treat himself to a fresh look. He produced clippers, a hand mirror, and a confidence not supported by physics. Halfway through a DIY fade, the clippers died. He looked like two different people arguing about sideburns. Nurses tried not to laugh as a tech fetched a backup set, then a third when the second overheated. Maintenance finally loaned an industrial extension cord like the patient was detailing a car, not his skull. He left with a decent cut, a stern "no grooming with power tools" note, and a fan club of staff who'd witnessed the most collaborative barbershop in medical history. The hospital added a new policy: personal clippers allowed, but bring your charger, your dignity, and a plan. 17. The Great Bed Alarm Symphony Night Shift. Quiet floor. Then one bed alarm chirps. Another follows in sympathetic harmony. Within minutes, the ward sounds like a flock of anxious microwave ovens. New policy had bed alarms set to extra sensitive, which translated to activates when patient dreams about moving. Nurses sprinted room to room like whack-a-mole champions, silencing one alarm just as two more took up the chorus. One patient confessed he'd only reached for a grape. Another had crossed his ankles and triggered a fall risk event. The charge nurse finally staged a truce. Staff rounded with snacks so patients wouldn't launch stealth missions for crackers. Maintenance turned down the volume from airport runway to polite ding, and the night ended with a pile of safely distributed grapes and dignity. Lesson learned: technology is helpful until it panics over a sigh, and nothing prevents an escape attempt like an oatmeal cookie. 18. The interpreter app that spoke in tongues. A well-meaning relative volunteered to translate during a discharge talk, then decided to double-check herself with a phone app. The doctor would say a sentence, the relative would translate, the app would retranslate, and the result sounded like Shakespeare being filtered through a blender. Take with food became consume alongside feast. Call if fever turned into summon us when the heat of your soul rises. After 5 minutes of linguistic ping-pong, everyone looked like they'd run a marathon in a library. The hospital interpreter finally arrived, gently retired the phone, and restored order with 2 calm paragraphs that made perfect sense. The patient nodded, grateful. The app chimed in with an unsolicited ad for discounted language packs. Discharge summary note: education completed using certified interpreter. Electronic oracle dismissed from service. Moral: in medicine, accuracy beats vibes, and your aunt plus a smartphone is not a United Nations. 19. The mystery of the phantom call. Lightroom 412's call light kept activating every 15 minutes. Staff hustled in. Nobody had pressed it. The patient was napping, remote on the tray table like a well-behaved pet rock. Maintenance replaced the button. It continued. Security checked the camera. Nothing. Finally, a nurse noticed a pattern. The light coincided with housekeeping's floor buffer passing the doorway. Electromagnetic interference was tickling the ancient wiring like a mischievous ghost with a sense of timing. They tested the theory. Buffer off, silence. Buffer on, ding. The unit erupted in relieved laughter that sounded suspiciously like exhaustion. Maintenance rerouted the line, housekeeping adjusted the route, and room 412 finally slept. The nurse left a sticky note on the panel. Haunted by electricity. Be nice to the buffer. Hospitals don't fear poltergeists. They fear legacy infrastructure with a comedic streak. 20. The family group chat consult. Visiting hours ended, but not for smartphones. A patient's adult children formed a 12-person group chat and began second opinionsing the night to death. Dings every 3 seconds. Ask about turmeric. My neighbor's cousin cured sciatica with goat yoga. Is he allowed grapes? The patient, overwhelmed by digital love, handed the phone to the nurse like it was a live grenade. The nurse proposed a ceasefire, designate one spokesperson, compile real questions, and meet at 9 a.m. for a civilized FAQ with the doctor. The group chat mourned briefly, then agreed, producing the most organized list the unit had ever seen. Answers were given, myths were slain, and the patient slept. Phone on Do Not Disturb, family promoted to helpful committee. The hospital's only regret: not inventing spokesperson rules years earlier. Medicine advances on research, peace advances on muting. 21. The Ivy Pole Fashion Show. Boredom is a powerful designer. By afternoon, 3 patients on the surgical floor had decorated their IV poles with contraband from the gift shop. ribbons, a teddy bear, and, for reasons unknown, novelty sunglasses on the pump. The hallway transformed into Paris Fashion Week for stainless steel. Physical therapy seized the moment, turning ambulation time into a runway walk. Patients strutted 20 yards, nurses clapped like Broadway audiences, and a grumpy resident judged form with Olympic seriousness. One pole lost a ribbon to the housekeeping buffer, again with the buffer. Another shed its teddy bear for sterilization reasons, and everyone learned about no tape on sensors the fun way. But patients met their walking goals, pain scores dipped, and the mood lifted like a good curtain call. New unit tradition was born. Fridays are for flair, within policy, cleaned after, and approved by infection control, the least fashion-forward but most important judge. 22. The lunch that required legal counsel. A patient with 6 allergies, 2 intolerances, and 1 very enthusiastic keto blog arrived just before noon. Dietary services tried, a valiant quinoa-free, dairy-free, joy-adjacent tray. Rejected. This violates my macros. A dietitian with the patience of a saint sat down, unpacked the beliefs from the biology, and negotiated a peace treaty. Protein he liked, vegetables he'd tolerate, seasonings that wouldn't declare war on his esophagus. The kitchen produced a plate that looked like a hostage exchange, plain, precise, plated with surgical geometry. He took a bite, paused, and declared, "This is fine." In hospital food terms, that's a Michelin star. The dietitian updated the chart with a menu so precise it could land a plane. Moral: you can't please the internet, but you can feed a human who reads it if you bring facts, patience, and a salt packet. 23. The elevator. That thought it was a ride. One elevator developed a personality. Doors that closed dramatically, a cheerful ding that arrived a floor late, and an inexplicable habit of stopping at level 3 to contemplate life. Transport timed it. The trip to radiology took as long as a sitcom. Engineering arrived with laptops and confident nods. Then the elevator responded by behaving perfectly for 2 hours, like a toddler performing for grandparents. They finally caught the glitch, a sensor confused by reflections from a new floor wax, which, to be fair, could double as a skating rink. A strip of matte tape, a recalibration, and the diva retired. Staff held a mock ribbon-cutting ceremony and gave the elevator a sticker that read, "Best Supporting Actor." Hospitals don't regret machinery with personality. They regret when it auditions during peak transport with a cart full of sleepy post-op patients. 24. The Code Brown Snow Day. A sudden blizzard trapped half the day shift at home and the night shift in the building. The cafeteria pivoted to whatever we can grill, facilities built pillow forts out of spare blankets, and the pharmacy ran deliveries like a relay team. A surgeon washed dishes, an administrator learned the dark art of bedpans. Environmental services became heroes with shovels and caffeine. Someone set up a coffee station labeled Resilience Indecia, a cup, and a respiratory therapist DJ'd 80s soft rock over a Bluetooth speaker until the charge nurse vetoed power ballads during rounds. Patients got care, staff got chili, the safe kind, and by morning, plows had arrived to a chorus of relieved cheers. The only regret? Discovering that the good cookies appear only during acts of God. The new protocol? Keep a blizzard stash of salt, scrapers, and shortbread. 25. The lost and found of questionable choices. Every hospital has a lost and found. Ours looked like a yard sale curated by a prankster. 3 single shoes, all left, a prosthetic ear, 2 wigs labeled Tuesday and formal, and a set of dentures in a Crown Royal bag that security kept calling the Royal Chompers. The crown jewel was a briefcase full of TV remote controls, 37 of them, liberated by a patient convinced the hospital was charging extra for channels. When we reunited items with owners, the stories got better. One man claimed his missing toupee fled during a brisk walk. Another swore the prosthetic ear was on loan to a friend for a costume. The only thing never claimed, a laminated card that read Certified Dr. Google, MD, mobile data. The regret wasn't the chaos. It was realizing we'd need a full-time librarian just to catalog the plot twists patients leave behind like breadcrumbs. 26. The therapy dog, who outsmarted the building. Therapy dogs are pure sunshine with paws. Ours, a golden retriever named Waffles, took his job very seriously, comforting patients, charming staff, and learning the hospital layout faster than new interns. One afternoon, Waffles discovered that his vest tag would trip the automatic doors. Within minutes, he was running independent rounds, PICU for cuddles, oncology for morale, gift shop for ear scratches, and then the cafeteria where he sat, dignified, as fries happened to fall in his direction. Security launched Operation Gentle Escort, which is what you call it when 3 adults in scrubs jog politely after a dog who clearly believes he's management. Risk wrote a memo about access control, facilities tweaked the sensors, and Waffles got a new badge that doesn't open half the building. Do we regret it? Only the part where morale dipped 10% every time Waffles was between visits. He remains the only employee who can be bribed legally with a baby carrot. 27. The resident who nap-walked through a consult night float residency is an extreme sport, powered by caffeine and clinical optimism. At 4:12 a.m., a resident arrived for a consult gripping a cup of coffee like a life preserver. He nodded through the history, examined the patient, then dictated the tightest, most elegant note of his career, into a dead phone. When the attending asked a question, he responded, eyes open, in perfect Latin, which turned out to be the cafeteria menu backwards. The charge nurse declared a code. Get this man a chair. He sat, blinked twice, and then, still upright, slept for exactly 90 seconds, woke, and correctly recited the plan, including meds, follow-up, and a joke about insurance that landed. He apologized for micro-hibernating, signed the orders, and shuffled off, leaving a coffee ring shaped like a cardiology diagram. The only regret was not bottling whatever superpower lets a human nap standing up and still achieve diagnostic accuracy. 28. The popcorn fire drill. 1 microwave. 1 bag of movie theater butter. Infinite chaos. A staff lounge popcorn experiment turned into a smoke signal visible from the next zip code. Fire alarms sang, elevator recalls triggered, and a phalanx of firefighters strode in like a calendar photo shoot. Environmental services deployed fans, the hallway smelled like a carnival abandoned under a heat lamp, and respiratory was extremely not amused. Patients were safe, staff were sheepish. The lounge now features a bold sign. This is a microwave, not a volcano. 2 minutes max. Risk added a training slide featuring a hero firefighter holding the charred bag like evidence from a cooking crime scene. The regret wasn't the response. It was that 20 people watched the bag inflate like a life raft and trusted just 30 more seconds would be fine. Nothing in medicine ends well after the phrase, just 30 more seconds. 29. The ICU smoothie smuggling operation. ICUs have rules. No flowers, no perfumes, and definitely no unvetted food. Enter a devoted cousin with a blender the size of a jet engine who decided the patient needed vitamins not available in the continental US. He tried to Uber Eats the concoction to the ICU doors, then attempted a handoff via the loading dock like it was a heist movie. Security intercepted a tote of mason jars labeled Lung Magic, Detox Volcano, and Pineapple Justice. A dietitian, bless them, reviewed ingredients like a detective, ginger, turmeric, kale, also bee pollen, and built a safe, hospital-approved version that didn't require a beekeeper. The cousin calmed down after someone explained drug interactions with grapefruit. The patient got a nutrition plan that wouldn't arm wrestle their meds, and the ICU posted a friendly graphic. We love your love. Please run it by us before it's blended. 30. The whiteboard that solved and caused mysteries. Every room had a whiteboard for care plans and names. Then one day, a bored med student drew a perfect anatomy diagram to explain a surgery to a nervous family. It worked. Tension melted. Soon, nurses added simple icons, a water droplet for fluid restriction, a shoe for physical therapy. Families loved it. And then came the interpretations. A stick figure lung became a fish, prompting an aquarium question spree. A pain scale face was mistaken for a pizza review. Is he craving a 7 out of 10 slice? Risk-approved standardized icons. Art Club and Pediatrics laminated a legend. Facilities mounted mini erasers on strings like hotel pens. The whiteboard stayed, smarter and clearer. Our only regret, the one time a visiting artist drew a beautiful heart with arrows and someone thought it meant archery at 3 p.m. Good news, cardiology saved the day. Bad news, we briefly disappointed an aspiring Robin Hood. 31. The barcode Hunger Games supply closets can make or break a shift. Ours switched to a hyper-accurate barcode system that recorded every glove, catheter, and tongue depressor like it was leaving a luxury boutique. Within a day, friendly chaos broke out. Nurses beeped supplies with the zeal of championship cashiers, the scanner chirping like a caffeinated bird. Then the system flagged anomalies. Apparently, pediatrics had used 36 adult slings in an hour. They hadn't. A mislabeled shelf had. Materials management arrived with clipboards and a sense of destiny. A truce formed. Relabel, reorganize, and deputize a closet captain per unit. Soon, efficiency soared, waste plummeted, and everyone stopped sneaking gauze like it was contraband. The regret? That it took a minor inventory uprising to discover the closet's true final boss was a box of 2005 stickers saying miscellaneous, which is supply chain for good luck, traveler. 32. The parade that almost met the magnet. Pediatrics booked a local school's pep band for a surprise hallway concert. Light, joyful, brass forward. It was perfect until the route map placed them one left turn from MRI. The charge nurse froze, picturing a sousaphone accelerating to 30 mph toward a very expensive magnet. Facility sprinted, posted a human shield at the corner, and rerouted the procession like air traffic control. Clarinets detour past respiratory, drums hold at the fish tank, tubas, you're with me. The band pivoted beautifully, played Take On Me, and a kid in a wheelchair conducted like a maestro. MRI never knew how close it came to meeting a trombone at terminal velocity. New rule added to events checklist. Metal inventory if within 100 feet of MRI. Regrets? None, except that we didn't get a photo of the moment 6 clinicians formed a very serious brass section blockade with clipboards and authority. 33. The telemedicine cameo disaster pandemic era, telehealth booming, and one surgeon had the bedside manner of a talk show host. Mid-visit with a very serious patient, he tried to demonstrate screen sharing and accidentally piped in his 11-year-old's Minecraft stream to the entire clinic. For 2 minutes, radiology, cardiology, a very confused patient, and an even more confused administrator watched a pixelated pickaxe destroy digital granite while the surgeon narrated, "And this is how we oh no." The chat feature lit up like Times Square. "Doctor, is that a tumor or a cave? What stage is Creeper?" The clinic's regret wasn't telemedicine. It was not training people on the difference between share, window, and share desktop. New rule, close tabs, cleared desktop, and one sacrificial test Zoom with IT before going live. The patient later joked, "Doc, thanks. You mined my anxiety down to bedrock." 34. The Doctor Google. Second opinion. In the room, A. Patient wheeled in a rolling suitcase that turned out to be a portable printer, highlighters, and a 300-page binder labeled My Research. He slapped it on the tray table like a law brief. Every recommendation got countered with an abstract from 2007 or a blog post with the credibility of a fortune cookie. The attending didn't fight. He treated it like a peer review. He circled the outdated bits, starred the good sources, and stapled a fresh, readable 2-page plan on top. Evidence we actually use, 2025 edition. The patient blinked, nodded, and, shockingly, relaxed. New teaching point for interns. Don't wage war on binders. Curate them. The hospital's only regret, that we ran out of yellow highlighters before the final section titled If I Were My Own Doctor, which the attending relabeled If I Were Exhausted. 35. The vending machine mutiny night shift lives on vending machines. Ours snapped. It decided potato chips were a luxury good and began vend-bombing random items. 2 granola bars for pressing 7, a single loose peanut for B4, and once, ominously, a roll of surgical tape. Security posted caution tape like it was a crime scene. Engineering arrived, shook it, and 3 bottled waters fell out like confetti. Facilities finally discovered the culprit. A slipped spiral and a coin mech jammed with Canadian quarters. Nutrition services wheeled in a pop-up snack cart, morale rebounded, and the vending contractor replaced the gremlin with a model that takes cards, cash, and, crucially, doesn't cosplay as a slot machine. Regret? Thinking a hospital full of anxious, hypoglycemic humans should negotiate with a snack robot. New SOP, 1 phone call, 1 cart, 1 Snickers per apology. 36. The name twin epidemic census spike. Suddenly we had 2 Marias with the same last name, same birth month, different allergies, and identical resting "do not mess with me" faces. Add 2 John Lees on the cardiac floor and a Josephine Josette switcheroo in pre-op, and admissions started seeing double. Barcode bans and photo IDs saved the day, but not before a physical therapist cheerfully told the wrong Maria, "Time to walk," and got, "I am not walking anywhere, and I am also not Maria." The unit instituted the full introductions rule. Name, birth date, favorite snack, yes, favorite snack, before meds or therapy. It became charmingly foolproof. Regrets? None, unless you count the moment a resident tried to leave a note for "Maria likes lemon cookies" and got schooled by Risk on what belongs in a medical record. Hint, not baked goods. 37. The power outage karaoke. A thunderstorm rolled in and the lights blinked. Backup generators roared to life like diesel-laced lullabies. Monitors were fine. Charting continued. But the Wi-Fi hiccuped, the TV feeds died, and pediatrics invented hallway karaoke to settle nerves. A respiratory therapist with a stadium voice led "Lean on Me" while a surgeon harmonized off-key, and a patient in a wagon shook a maraca with clinical authority. Facilities frowned, then smiled. Security kept time. The charge nurse set decibel limits with all the seriousness of ATC. Power returned, but the vibe remained suspiciously human. Regrets? That the only recording was a 240p potato video labeled "Unit Fun"? New Emergency Kit Edition, a tiny battery speaker and 2 sanctioned playlists, calm and mildly 80s. Turns out, backup power keeps machines alive. Backup music keeps people brave. 38. The Counterfeit Comfort Kit. A donation drive delivered comfort kits for new moms. Sweet idea, terrible execution. The lotions smelled like a candle shop rebellion. The heating pads were microwavable in theory but flammable in practice. And the herbal tea packets were labeled in a language nobody could read, plus the universal icon for "Do not ingest while on any medication ever." Pharmacy audited, legal winced, and volunteer services pivoted like pros. Swap mystery items for approved ones, add real nipple cream, clear instructions, and a magnet with lactation support numbers. The revamped kit turned into a quiet triumph. Lesson learned: generosity needs vetting. Good intentions aren't UL listed. Regret? The 3 heating pads that tried to become comets in the staff microwave before someone posted the sign. If it sparks, it parks. In the trash. 39. The paging code. That meant 2 things. Hospitals run on codes. Unfortunately, so did the new phone system, and Code Orange meant hazardous spill to us and upgrade your voicemail box to the vendor. One morning, speakers blared, "Code Orange, main corridor." Environmental services arrived in hazmat gear, and IT showed up with lanyards and smiles. For 10 surreal minutes, a spill team and a software rep debated absorption pads versus firmware. The corridor crowd got front row seats to bureaucracy improv. Administration killed the conflict with an edict. Our codes take precedence. Vendors rename theirs. IT sheepishly reprogrammed alerts to vendor orange like a designer fruit. Regrets? Only that we didn't film the moment a hazmat captain said, "Show me where the hazardous voicemail is." 40. The art therapy that became Sotheby's art therapy rolled canvases into the adult rehab unit. Quiet watercolors, simple acrylics, low stakes. Then a retired sign painter with forearms like Legend picked up a brush and casually recreated a photorealistic Route 66 diner scene in under an hour. Word spread. Staff wandered in to check vitals and left whispering bids. Another patient painted a perfect cardinal. A nurse sketched a joyful, lopsided hospital skyline and titled it, "We Try." Someone suggested a hallway show. Risk approved with parameters. Facilities hung wires, and families cried in the good way. The only regret, letting the first piece leave without a high-res scan. Now there's a policy. Document, celebrate, return to owner. Medicine restored function, art restored pride. And somewhere, a waiting room now has a cardinal who looks like he understands HIPAA. 41. The apple juice debacle. A well-meaning visitor wandered into a room, saw a labeled specimen cup on the tray, and assumed the label "Urine Do Not Discard" was a brand name or a very stern recycling reminder. Before anyone could shout, he took a heroic sip and learned a life lesson available in every kindergarten hygiene poster. Chaos ensued. The nurse hit the call light like a game show buzzer. The patient screamed, "Not that," and the mortified visitor tried to apologize to the cup. Poison control was called. Not for toxicity, but for dignity triage. The visitor was fine. The relationship between him and apple juice was permanently complicated, and the unit adopted a new policy. If it's in a specimen cup, it gets a bright neon sleeve that says, "Not a beverage in a font size readable from the moon." Regrets? Just one. No one filmed the world's fastest spit take for hand hygiene training. 42. The 3D printer. That wouldn't stop helping. Ortho got a fancy 3D printer for surgical guides. Beautiful machine. Quiet, precise, a little too enthusiastic. One night, a resident cued a test print of a tiny femur and accidentally checked repeat until job canceled. Then he went home. By morning, the lab looked like a femur farmer's market. Dozens of perfect little bones lined up like Halloween confetti. Facilities thought it was an art installation. Risk asked if we were launching a toy line. The chief of surgery said, "Great, ankle models for everyone." We made the best of it, used them for patient education, med student anatomy demos, and briefly, a wildly popular guess the bone jar at the front desk, retired when Risk remembered we have priorities. New rule, night prints require a chaperone, and someone checks the print once box like their license depends on it. 43. The OR playlist that got copyrighted by the universe operating rooms run better with music. This is science. But one trainee filmed a suture technique on a dummy with the OR speakers quietly playing a 70s classic, uploaded the demo to the hospital's education portal, and got the entire channel muted by a copyright bot with no sense of vibes. For 48 hours, residents watched silent videos of scalpels moving like interpretive dance. The fix involved re-editing everything with royalty-free tracks that sounded like a Casio keyboard on chamomile. Surgeons tolerated it. Anesthesiology requested anything that doesn't sound like an elevator in space. The regret wasn't the playlist. It was forgetting the A. Microphone on the mannequin also records. New policy, live patient, no video. Simulation, music off or licensed. Bonus, an attending now curates a monthly or clean beats list. Yes, there's a polka. No, it's not approved. 44. The parking garage symphony. A thunderclap, one startled sedan, and suddenly every car alarm in the garage decided to audition for percussion. Add a med-flight helicopter circling for clearance, and you had a soundtrack like a robot marching band on espresso. Transport couldn't hear the radios. Security deployed with the world's tiniest key fobs. One resident tried rhythmic clapping like he could conduct the chaos back to silence. Facilities found the domino, a loose conduit vibrating just enough to tickle a sensor on column B. Tightened, padded, peace restored. The only lingering note was an email from administration titled Ambient Noise Learnings, which is corporate for "Please stop clapping at the garage." Regret. Counting on car alarms to deter crime when their main talent is startling cardiology fellows. 45. The rehab class. Featuring Elvis, kind of. Cardiac rehab is treadmills, supervised breathing, and an instructor who says, "Nice pace," like a mantra. Then one day, security escorted in a late arrival. Pompadour, jumpsuit, sunglasses, an Elvis impersonator en route to the children's fundraiser who'd gotten lost and somehow found the only room with people moving in rhythm. Before anyone could clarify, he asked, "You folks like a little Can't Help Falling in Love for cool down?" Reader, they did. He crooned, they stretched, the telemetry blipped happily, and even the grumpiest patient cracked a smile. When the actual fundraiser wrangler arrived, he signed a release, finished the set, and left to thunderous applause. New rehab rule: if Elvis appears, he's medically supervised and absolutely counts as range of motion training. 0 regrets, 10 out of 10 engagement, proof that the king is great for heart health, at least in moderate doses. 46. The scented air experiment. Someone in facilities read a white paper about soothing ambient aromatics and decided a barely there lavender mist would calm visitors in the main lobby. It did not. Mixed with disinfectant, it smelled like a yoga studio that moonlights as a high school gym. Patient feedback ranged from grandma's closet to laundry day at a chemical plant. A sneeze chorus broke out near the gift shop. Pharmacy reminded everyone that fragrance-free is not a suggestion, but a truce. The diffusers were retired, the air returned to its natural bouquet of coffee and hand sanitizer, and volunteer services replaced the vibe with a real pianist on Tuesdays. Lesson learned: peace smells like nothing and sounds like Gershwin at 2 p.m. 47. The prosthetic that took a victory lap. A patient's custom prosthetic leg went missing between radiology and PT. Panic, calls, searches. Finally, respiratory texted a photo. The leg, perched on a rolling chair, wearing a smiley face sticker, being escorted back by 2 giggling CNAs like it had snuck out for a smoke break. Turns out it rode the wrong elevator and became a unit mascot for 20 confused minutes. The patient laughed so hard he needed a quick sat check, then asked for the photo for his Christmas card. Risk, recovering from a small heart attack, created a tag and escort workflow for high-value mobility devices. The regret? Only that we didn't fit the leg with a tiny air tag sooner. The win? We learned a prosthesis can have better comedic timing than most morning huddles. 48. The Atrium Rainstorm. Nobody ordered. Grand finale maternity planned a new babies parade in the atrium. Sweet, short, Instagram safe. Guests brought balloons, as guests do. One drifted up to a heat sensor and, click, tripped the fire system. Sprinklers erupted in cinematic slow motion. A piano sacrificed itself like a noble ship. Therapy plants experienced a flash flood. The therapy dog shook. The therapy humans sprinted. And environmental services executed the cleanup ballet they were born to perform. Nobody was hurt. Infants were whisked to dry land. Parents told that yes, someday this would be funny. Facilities replaced the detectors, events updated the checklist, no balloons, all caps, and the hospital quietly retired anything that floats near the ceiling. We regretted the chaos, we loved the teamwork, and we will forever call it the day the building cried happy tears. The photos, after the rain, are perfect. Hospitals, miracles inside, chaos in the hallways. Nominate today's dumbest disaster below.